जिनेश्वर रक्ष रक्ष जिनेश्वर रक्ष रक्ष जिनेश्वर। शांतिनाथ रतन रूपाणु शांतिनाथ शांतिनाथ रतन रूपाणु शांति पमाड़े वो स्मरण हुफाणु शांति पमाड़े वो स्मरण हुफाणु शांतिनाथ 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 रतन रूपाणु। वत्सल वदननु तेज निराळु वत्सल वदननु तेज निराळु शांतिनाथ शांतिनाथ रतन रूपाणु। शांतिनाथ शांतिनाथ रतन रूपाणु। जिन राज करवे मारे नित्य आराधना जिन राज करवे मारे नित्य आराधना ले जो स्वीकारे वे अधूरी उपासना ले जो स्वीकारे एवी अधूरी उपासना बल जो निरंतर भगवान कोई बुला के देख ले। वीर नाम अति मीठा है, कोई गा के देख ले।
वीर नाम अति मीठा है, कोई गा के देख ले।
आ जाते भगवान कोई बुला के देख ले। वीर नाम अति मीठा है। आधे नाम से आ जाते हो कोई बुलाने वाला। बिक जाते भगवान कोई हो मोल चुकाने वाला।
आधे नाम से आ जाते हो कोई बुलाने वाला। बिक जाते भगवान कोई हो मोल चुकाने वाला।
कोई मोल चुकाने वाला। कोई चंदना जैसे उड़द खिला के देख ले। कोई शबरी झूठे बेर खिला के देख ले।
आ जाते भगवान कोई बुला के देख ले।
वीर नाम अति मीठा है, कोई गा के देख ले।
वीर नाम अति मीठा है, कोई गा के देख ले।
आ जाते भगवान कोई बुला के देख ले। वीर नाम अति मीठा है। हृदय दी जो चांदनों ने नैना दी जो जोत। हृदय दी जो चांदनों ने नैना दी जो जोत। इतनी बाता नहीं देव तो रह जाऊं लाठोर। म्हारा गुरुदेव गुणवंता। इतनी बाता पूरी करो तो छोड़ूं सारी ममता।
हमारा गुरुदेव गुणवंता। इतनी बाता पूरी करो तो छोड़ू सारी ममता।
नौ तत्वरो ज्ञान दीजो समकित साची।
नौ तत्वरो ज्ञान दीजो समकित साची।
अंधारो अज्ञान रो हर जो समझण पाची। म्हारा गुरुदेव गुणवंता। इतनी बाता पूरी करो तो छोड़ूं सारी ममता।
हमारा गुरुदेव गुणवंता। इतनी बाता पूरी करो तो छोड़ू सारी ममता।
भरम भरम में करम कमाया, धर्म न जान्यो काई।
भरम भरम में करम कमाया, धर्म न जान्यो काई।
शर्म शर्म में उमर गंवाई, हाथ न आयो काई। म्हारा गुरुदेव गुणवंता। इतनी बाता पूरी करो तो छोड़ूं सारी ममता।
हमारा गुरुदेव गुणवंता।
Jai Jinendra, everyone. I hope you can all hear me. Can you all hear me? Yes, great. Well, welcome to Sri Chanda Vidyapeeth's Friday adult class. A very, very warm welcome to you. I hope you're all really comfortable. As always, we begin with the Naoka Mantra. We have the very talented young Yuvraj, 11 years old, who is our Madhyama 2 student. He would like to recite the Naoka Mantra this evening for all of us. So a big round of applause for Yuvraj. Over to you, Yuvraj. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Namo Aryantanam, Namo Siddhanam, Namo Ayaryanam, Namo Uvajayanam, Namo Loye Savvasahunam, Eso Panch Namokaro, Savva Pava Panasano, Mangalalancha Svavesim, Padamankave Mangalam.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much, Yuvraj. And thank you for volunteering this evening at such short notice. We really appreciate it. And hopefully you will also listen to the rest of the lecture this evening and give us your feedback as an 11-year-old. Yes? So if you're just joining in, welcome. We are so blessed this evening to have the very dynamic, very talented teacher with us this evening. He's been with the Sri Chanda Vidyapeeth for a very, very long time. And I hope you will enjoy his lecture this evening, which is on Chandra Kaushik and the universal language. So I introduce you and I welcome on board Mr. Sandeep Bhai. Hey, Sandeep Bhai, you there? Sandeep Bhai? Jai Jinendra, we can't see you.
Can you see me now?
No, not yet.
No, I can see myself.
Maybe you need to flip the video maybe so we can see
We
you.
can see him.
Varsha, we can all see him.
Okay, great, great. Okay, fantastic. Sandeep Bhai, welcome and thank you for joining us this evening. We're really excited. Over to you.
Thank you, and Jai Jinendra, everyone. So as Varsha very kindly mentioned, today is the topic of Chandra Kaushik and the universal language. But before we do that, we've had some, well, I listened to some horrendous news from Denmark yesterday. With the COVID pandemic going on, apparently in Denmark, they've found a COVID strain mink. Mink is a kind of a weasel. It's an animal. And I wasn't even aware, but apparently there are mink farms in Denmark, and they're going to kill all the mink animals. And that is really, it's really traumatizing, very sad situation. And, you know, I just cannot believe what this world is coming to, because we have COVID coming in from, they say, from China, from the wet markets, which was from bats. Now they're saying the mink have got the COVID virus, but obviously the mink couldn't have got it unless some humans passed it over to mink. And for no reason, these animals are all going to be gassed and killed. I have no idea what millions of animals are going to be killed, but they are. So I think for everyone, I request all of you to please close your eyes for all those animals and just say Naoka Mantra. So I'd like us to start Ashaben. Please, Ashaben, would you like to take over from here? Ashaben is one of our teachers, a very, very talented and amazing singer. And all through my lectures during the lockdown, she's been a great help to me in singing appropriate stavans for my lectures. And today, she has very kindly agreed to sing one for me with her Mariswami Stuti at the beginning. So if Ashaben, do you want to take over from here, please?
Jai Jinendra.
Jai Jinendra.
श्रीमते वीरनाथाय सनाथाय तुतश्रिया महानंद सरोराज मुरालायार्ते नमः मंगलम भगवान वीरो मंगलम गौतम प्रभु मंगलम स्थूलभद्राद्या जैन धर्मोस्तु मंगलम जैन धर्मोस्तु मंगलम वेश भरीने विषधर सूतो चंड कौशियाना में महाभयंकर मार्गमा विचरे महावीर स्वामी महाभयंकर मार्गमा विचरे महावीर स्वामी चाशोमा प्रभु पंथ विकट छे ઝેર ભરાવ એક નાગ નિકટ છે જાશોમાં પ્રભુ પંથ વિકટ છે ઝેર ભરાવ એક નાગ નિકટ છે હાથ જોડીને વિનવે વીરને लोक बधा भय पामी महाभयंकर ए मार्गमा विचरे महावीर स्वामी आदिगंध जा मानव घेरे दंश दीदो ત્યાં થઈને વેરે આદિગંધ જા માનવ ઘેરે દંશ દીધો ત્યાં થઈને વેરે હિંસાને અહિંસા વચ્ચે लड़ाई भीषण जानी महाभयंकर मार्गमा विचरे महावीर स्वामी दूध वह्यो जा प्रभु ने चरणे चंड कौशियो આવ્યો શરણે દૂધ વહ્યો જા પ્રભુને ચરણે ચંડ કૌશિયો शियो आव्यो शरणे कैक समझ तू कैक समझ तू कैक समझ तू कैक समझ तू एम कई करुणाणी महाभयंकर ए मार्ग मा विचरे महावीर स्वामी वेरति वेर श्रमे नहीं जगमा प्रेम थी प्रेम वधे जीवन वेरति वेर श्रमे नहीं जगमा प्रेम थी प्रेम वधे जीवन प्रेम धर्म नो परिचय पामी प्रेम धर्म नो परिचय पामी नागर ओ शिर नामी महाभयंकर ए मार्ग मा विचरे महावीर स्वामी महाभयंकर ए मार्ग मा विचरे महावीर स्वामी. Over to you, Sandeep bhai. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashaben.
Thank you, Ashaben.
Really amazing, beautiful. Thank you so much. Right, Jai Jinendra, everyone.
Jai Jinendra.
So today's topic is, as Ashaben sung a beautiful stavan on Chanda Kaushik. And I would like to start by sharing my screen with you, please. And just give me 1 second. Can everyone see?
Yes, we can see. Yeah.
Thank you. So I think this story everyone knows, Mahavir Swami and Chand Kaushik. But before that, I just want to discuss about anger. Anger is a very strong emotion. All of us have felt the pangs of anger in various degrees at some time or other times, or some or other times. What happens when we feel rage or anger? Do you want to share on your screen, please, or on chat? Or you can unmute and say, because I don't think there are many of us today. Anyone?
Our whole body reacts really, doesn't it, Sandeep bhai? So it shows on the face, it shows in our whole sort of body, in terms of the movements. You know, our voice changes. I'm sure all our thoughts, all our sensible thoughts go out of the window.
Yes, so I've got a few responses. I've got blood pressure goes up. We react without thinking. As you, Varsha, you rightly said, unable to focus and think clearly. You hurt others and hurt yourself. Short breath, bad thoughts. So these are all negative. And yet, can we stop anger? Or are we able to stop in our current situation? Are we able to stop anger or annoyance or anyone? Parul says we blame other people, but are we able to stop anger? You might make a resolve that I will not get angry, but are you still able to stop? So Bindi says, yes, we can stop anger by awareness. We can try and control it.
We can bring different tools to help us to not react. But if the reaction comes, it's very difficult to stop.
Yes. So Parul says doing compassionate work, not entirely, but you can through awareness. Raj says yes to some extent. pause before reacting. I think everybody has got, and I assume that everybody sort of, after attending Chandna Vidyapith and listening to Acharya Shri and Sadhviji Shilapiji Maharaj and various Sadhvijis, we all have come to some sort of a personal thing whereby we try, if we find ourselves getting angry, we try and stop it. But this is not what happened to Chand Kaushik. So, sorry, I've got a problem. So, when anger flares, we lose our sense of judgment. Virtues like love and forgiveness are destroyed. And everyone wants to stay away from those who become angry easily. We don't like being near people who are angry. Due to anger, friends become foes. The anger nourishes revenge, and sometimes virtuous people become angry, but they immediately calm down and ask for forgiveness from the people involved. We should cultivate virtues such as forgiveness, penance, and repentance. So one of the reasons why we do any kind of penance is to try and calm our senses down. So this is from Acharya Sutra. As you know, Acharya Shri has been giving sermons on Acharya Sutra. And the wise look upon life as a mere dewdrop, which quivers upon the tip of the kusa grass to be whisked off by the breeze at any moment. So our life is so momentary that it has been likened to a dewdrop on a bit of grass. And if there's a small breeze, the dewdrop just gets swept away. So now I will come to the story of Chand Kaushik. So one day he was going to a village of Vatsala, and on his way he would have to go through a forest where a poisonous snake named Chand Kaushik lived. It was said that Chand Kaushik could kill a person or any animal just by casting an evil and angry glance at them. And all the people of the villages near that forest lived in absolute fear. When the villagers learned about Mahavir's intention to pass through the forest, they begged him to take another route. However, Mahavir had no fear. Now, why do you think Mahavir Swami deliberately chose that path? It's not as if he wanted to put his own life in danger. Why do you think? Anyone? It was Chand Kaushik's karma. Raj says, and Bindi says he knew he had Keval Gnan. But even if he had Keval Gnan, there must have been so many other animals and people to save. Why would he? He wanted to save Chand Kaushik. He was aware that Chand Kaushik needed help with realizing that what he needed to do to save himself. He knew and he wanted to awaken his soul. So Mahavir Swami obviously did not know when he went to that area or that before he entered the village or the village's surrounding, that there was such an animal. However, when he reached the village, when they told him about Chand Kaushik and they told him not to go, I think he realized that he needed to do this. So Mahavir Swami is one of the very unique things in his 30 years of travels after attaining Keval Gnan was that he would deliberately go to places where he could help people who are suffering. So he must have heard about the fact that there is this villages, and he realized that he had to somehow stop and alleviate the suffering of these villagers. And he wanted to find out. But one thing Mahavir Swami, of course, did not have was fear. So Mahavir practiced supreme non-violence. He had no hatred towards anyone and considered fear and hatred as violence to oneself. So one of the things that comes here is that there is this issue of fear. You know, we all have fear, all of us. We are worried about, we fear death, we fear COVID, we fear, I don't know, whatever. There is always fear at the back of our mind. And fear also breeds a lot of violence within us, not because we become angry, but we might become very stressed. We might become, upset, anxious. And this is what fear does to us. So Mahavir Swami was at peace with himself and all other living beings. There was a glow of serenity and compassion on his face. He convinced the people that everything would be all right, and he proceeded to the forest where Chand Kaushik lived. After a while, he noticed the beautiful green grass fading. The forest looked like a desert. The trees and plants were dead, so he thought that this must be near the area where Chand Kaushik lived. And then Mahavir Swami stopped there to meditate. Peace and tranquility and compassion flowed from Mahavir's heart for the well-being of each and every living thing. Chand Kaushik sensed that somebody had come near his land, so he came out of his burrow. To his surprise, he saw men standing there and he became furious, thinking, how dare he come this close to my land? Chand Kaushik started hissing to threaten Lord Mahavir. He did not understand Lord Mahavir's tranquility. The giant snake became angry, came closer to the Lord and swayed his head ready to strike. He saw no sign that this man would be threatened or would run away. And you know, when somebody doesn't respond to our anger, we get even more angry. So this made Chand Kaushik angrier, and he spat poisonous venom towards Mahavir 3 times. The venom neither affected Lord Mahavir nor disturbed his meditation. So Chand Kaushik became even more irritating and bit Lord Mahavir's toe. When he looked at the man again, he was surprised to see that not only had nothing happened to him, but instead of blood, milk-like substance flowed from his toe. Now, the question I have here is that Mahavir Bhagwan was human at that time. So how come the venom that this Chand Kaushik spat at him did not affect him? What do you think? Anyone? He was probably bitten many times before, Raj says. He was a Tirthankar, so he had special physical qualities. So what happened was, Mahavir Swami was like you and I. Yes, he was an evolved soul, but Mahavir Swami's body was not affected by the venom at all, because his soul and his body were separate, and it was not in a karma khapava mate. Mahavir Swami's body had to suffer various things, and this was one of the things that it suffered, but it was not affected by it, simply because his body had become that much stronger. His physical body, after all the tapascharya that he went through, it had become physically very, very strong. So it could resist this, or it could encounter this venom. So next slide. So Bhagwan Mahavir opened his eyes. He was calm, and there was no fear or anger on his face. He looked at Chand Kaushik and said, "Buj, Buj, Chand Kaushik, Buj," meaning calm down, Chand Kaushik. Realize what you are doing, as Ashaben sang so beautifully. There was love and affection in those words. Chand Kaushik calmed down and felt as if he had seen this kind of monk before. Bhagwan Mahavir's influence made him absolutely calm, and under the influence of Mahavir's presence and talks, he could see reason behind his anger. He was able to recall his past 2 lives. So what were his past 2 lives, Chand Kaushik's? Chand Kaushik recalled that he was a very well-learned monk and there was absence of equanimity in his spiritual pursuit. He had a young disciple. One day they both went for alms and unknowingly the head monk smashed a frog. The child monk told him for repentance for that mistake. However, the head monk's pride stopped him to do so, and he mentally thought, how can this child monk dare to say that to me? Again, at that time of the night, the child monk reminded him for repentance of killing the frog. Now the head monk lost his mental balance and decided to strike the child monk by a stick. So he ran after him to strike him, but in the darkness, he crashed against a pillar and died in a state of anger. In his next birth, he became a monk and lived in a forest. Due to earlier marriage, he also possessed a huge farm and used to eat only fruits from his farm and did austerities. However, he brought his previous birth's angry nature in this birth too. So some boys used to steal fruits from his farm and he was always in rage for the boys. One day he decided to catch some boys and punish them. So he lurked behind a tree and waited for them. He was holding an axe, and as soon as he got the chance, he rushed towards those boys, but unfortunately he fell down on his own axe, and his own axe pierced into his head and he died in agony. As a result, in his current birth, he became a snake who could kill anyone by looking at them by its ferocious glance. So, we never realize how much anger affects us and how, especially at the point of death, how terrible it is when it's our last moment and something bad happens to us and we get angry. It would be terrible. And that is why we always say that if you know or if you are aware, then you should always have this samta bhav, and that's what everyone, all the great spiritual leaders say that. So Chand Kaushik realized that anger and ego from his last two lives had done what it had done to him, and he bowed his head respectfully to the Lord. Further, Chand Kaushik peacefully retreated to his hole with his head inside while the portion of his body remained outside the hole. After a while, when people came to know that Chand Kaushik was no longer harmful to anyone, they came to see him out of curiosity. They saw him lying quietly. Some started worshipping him by offering milk and food. However, some were still furious because he had killed their loved one. So they threw stones and beat him with wooden sticks. Blood, milk, and food attracted ants, and Chand Kaushik willingly suffered the biting and beating and remained at peace with no trace of anger. He died after a few days. The self-restraint and control of his feelings destroyed many of his bad karmas, and therefore at the end of his life he was born in heaven, and as a result set to the direction of his future lives on correct path. So this is a story which everyone knows, and I had to recite it because it is still very, very powerful. But there is a reason why I had to recite it. So Chand Kaushik, where did this happen? So apparently there is an area called Jogi Pahadi which is called Pratibodh Bhumi, and this is a barren forest where the Kanakal ashram was situated, which is where Mahavir Swami went to, and where Lord Mahavir pacified Chand Kaushik, and that area is known as Jog Pahadi in the Ushka village near Sainthia town of West Bengal. The tree under which Chand Kaushik burrowed itself is still located on the Jogi Pahadi, that's what they say. The villagers here also claim that their ancestors believed that Chand Kaushik was pacified here by the Lord. Even today, the residents of the village claim that no cultivation is possible in a nearby path where Chand Kaushik used to reside. The Jogi Pahadi is a small mound which resembles a tiny hill in the middle of the village. One has to climb a few steps to reach the holy spot. The spot was identified by Sri Bhojraj Parekh after 25 years of research. On 22nd January 1989, a small shrine bearing the footprints of Lord Mahavir Swami was installed by the Panchayati Jain Temple, Kolkata. So my question here is, do you think animals understand human language? How did Chand Kaushik understand Mahavir Bhagwan's language? Anyone? It was bhav, somebody said through his actions. Shandip says. So do you think you and I, if we were to talk to animals, they would understand? I know Acharya Shri talks to animals, and I think they do understand her. But do you think they would understand our language? Tirthankar's language is understood by all living beings. That's what somebody else said. Somebody is saying, yes, if there's a connection between the souls. So you are right that if there is a connection between the souls, then they would understand. So René Descartes, who, hello?
In reality, those who have pets, the pets understand the language of their master.
Like afterwards,
after training.
Yeah, but after training. But here, this was a wild animal, snake, and this was not a domesticated pet, or it was not a domesticated animal of any sort who had been in human contact. In fact, people had shown hatred towards it all their lives. But just to go on, René Descartes, who was a great mathematician, but I think really silly in his argument, he argued that a dog howling pitifully when hit by a carriage does not feel pain. The dog is simply a broken machine devoid of cognitive substance that is the hallmark of people. So my question is, was Chand Kaushik's communication a miracle? Or was it like Dr. Dolittle? I don't know if you read the book Dr. Dolittle, and there was this film apparently recently where he could talk to the animals. Of course, this is what happened here was that the dominant culture narrative remains humans are special. They are above and beyond all other creatures. All humans enjoy universal rights, yet no animal does. No animal possesses the fundamental rights to its life, to bodily liberty and integrity. And unfortunately, this is how the world is at the moment. I talked about this culling of this culling of mink in Denmark, and it's just horrendous. And yes, I know that time does communicate with animals. In fact, in one of her lectures recently, there were a lot of birds squawking in the background. So she just said, "Can somebody go and tell those birds to go and squawk somewhere else?" And apparently they all went quiet. So we usually communicate with words, but this form is limited. However, there is a more powerful communication between two souls. And how is this possible? When the curtain of karma is removed, when our soul becomes so sensitized to other souls that you can feel their vibrations. Now, the thing that I want to ask you here, and unfortunately, we are all doing this via Zoom, so I can't sort of say that. But has anyone ever felt this with animals? Where they have come into contact with animals and they feel that there is some form of communication being formed. I know that people say that dolphins, especially, have communicated with humans, and people have talked about this. But has anybody had encounters with animals where they feel that the animals have communicated with them? Anyone? It seems no one. So have you not had animals, or has anybody not seen animals? Because I'll give you my example. So I do a lot of gardening, and we have a few robins who come, and there's one particular robin who actually comes when I'm gardening, and it normally sits on my spade, or it goes in and out of our shed. When I'm moving in and out, it sort of it stays there. It has actually come into the shed with me at times. It sort of, hops into the shed when I'm going in, and then it hops out when I'm coming out. So I've had that experience with a robin. Not that I talk to it. I mean, I just tell him. Well, I generally speak to the plants, and I sing, and I do all kinds of things. But what I find is that somehow there is a communication happening with that particular bird. So I'm not saying that my soul is that sensitized, so please don't get me wrong, but I'm just saying that sometimes it is possible to communicate. And the thing is that our soul is a prisoner in our body. Do you agree? So come on, guys. You surely you must think about. Do you think you have a soul?
Yes, absolutely, yes.
Okay, Varsha says that she has a soul. Anybody else? Okay, quite a few people say that they have a soul. So our soul is a prisoner in our body. Do you agree? I assume everybody meant yes.
Yes.
And our body is the ruler. What do you think?
Yes, the body, the whole body, including the mind, yes, especially the mind.
Whereas who should be the ruler? It is, but it should not be. So what Raj is saying, our body is a ruler, but it should not be. Does a soul suffer bodily pain? Bindi says no, Husna says no, Harshna says no, Ashaben says no, Bakul says no. So
is it possible, Sandeep, that, I mean, there is pain, but we just can't feel it because it's in sort of, invisible as such, but there is pain in sort of, there is a transfer of pain in some way.
So the way
the karma that is attached to it.
So the way the soul works is that the soul in its purest form, in its natural form, is full of bliss, full of energy, full of knowledge. And it's basically the word is Shuddha Buddha Chaitanya, Niranjan Swarup, okay? Those are the words. However, what happens with karma is that karma comes and it basically it sort of covers the soul, it intermingles with some of the soul particles. And as soon as we react to something, or as soon as something happens externally or internally, a thought form comes or an emotion comes, that soul, that whole thing, that whole karma vibrates, and with the vibration, it releases a karmic particle. So basically, we say karma uday maiva, and we react. And when we react, there are karmas which are also outside, which also it attracts. So it acts like a magnet. So one of the examples that time I used was a magnet and attracting iron particles to itself. And this is what it does. But if you cover the magnet, if you keep it covered completely, then the magnet will not be able to have as much strength to attract. And this is what samvar, which is one of the things that we practice, whereby we stop the influx of karmas, which is what I meant by stopping the kashais, trying to make our soul more sensitized to other souls, and this is what happens. And therefore, does your soul become an observer? Yes. What do you think?
Your question
Yes.
is your,
Yes.
I'm not
So
sure that our soul is currently an observer.
No, I'm saying that is your soul an observer?
It should
Yeah,
be.
currently is your soul an observer?
No.
If it's not an observer, it gets involved in your activities.
Yes.
How?
Soul is not involved in your.
I'm talking from a Vyavaharik perspective. That
your soul is not an.
Soul isn't an observer, Pratul is. Pratul is
No.
saying soul is an observer.
Yeah, soul is an observer. It is your mind.
It's your mind which gets you
and
to.
your senses which makes you.
Yeah, so there is this very interesting thing, because soul is actually does not get involved. It's nathi karto nathi bhokto, right? So soul doesn't feel pain. Apne je atmastuti gaye che na karta hu na bhokta hu. So what it does is the soul doesn't experience the pain. It doesn't actually also get involved in the activities. It is an observer. However, we don't realize that it's an observer because we are so involved in our activities that we seem to think that what is happening around us is actually happening, which Hindus have called Maya. I'm not saying that it's an illusion, but what Hindu dharma or Vedic dharma calls it is an illusion. And what they mean by an illusion is that whatever is happening externally around us, which is giving rise to certain reactions within us, whether it's at a traffic jam or whether it is some frustration we experience in our daily life, or we experience certain good news and we feel elated within ourselves. These are all emotions that we experience, and the emotions are caused by the fact that there is karmas which are constantly being released, because we've come with a karman sharir as well when we came into this world. And that karman sharir is always constantly vibrating, and it is releasing certain things in our mind, in ourselves, in our emotions. And by that reaction, we therefore attract. So it's a constant binding and non-binding, binding and non-binding. I mean, binding and releasing, binding and releasing. That's a constant thing that's happening to us. The soul, the whole idea of our Jain path is to make your soul an observer, to realize that your soul is observer. So you become an observer. So basically, you detach yourself from what is happening. And this is precisely what happened to Maharishi Swami. So when the venom was thrown at him, yes, his body perhaps experienced pain. But because his soul was so detached from his body, the body might have experienced pain, but the body also had become so strong, and therefore the soul did not feel any pain, and there was just constant compassion, constant love, constant awareness about the suffering of the soul. I don't know if you remember, but when Shulpani Yaksh did this absolutely horrendous suffering, that demon basically did a lot of suffering to Maharishi Swami, and Maharishi Swami never had pain, or he did not cry in pain, or he did not say anything. But what he did was, when at the end he had tears in his eyes, and he had tears in his eyes because he felt so bad for this demon, because he just thought that, my God, this poor creature, or this poor soul, is going to suffer so much in its future as it moves forward. And that is why he had tears in his eyes. So is everybody very clear, or have I confused you all? So this is from Dasvaikalika Sutra, and it says one should overcome anger with tranquility and forgiveness, pride with humility. So these are our 4 kashais, right? Krodh, Man, Maya, Lobh. Pride with humility, deceit with simplicity, greed with contentment. And this is from Dasvaikalika Sutra. And here, this is from Acharang Sutra. So it says, let me give up attachment through unattachment. My soul will be my only support. Let me give up everything else. So what it's saying is that basically you give up your attachment to your body as much and look at your soul and allow your soul to give you support. And in Uttarajyan Sutra, 36 times, in fact, in the last Uttarajyan Sutra, the session I just heard about 2 days ago, 36 times Uttarajyan Sutra Mahavir Swami tells Gautam Swami that do not be negligent even for a moment. And he says, with passing of nights, the mature pale leaf of a tree gets shed. Same is the fate of human life. Therefore, Gautam, do not be negligent even for a moment. This human life is ephemeral, like a shining dewdrop on the tip of grass, which I mentioned, I quoted earlier. Therefore, Gautam, be not negligent even for a moment. This short human lifespan is filled with many impediments, and this is all the time we have to shed the dust of karmas. Therefore, Gautam, be not negligent even for a moment. So, constantly throughout all our sutras, whether you look at Uttarajyan Sutra, whether you look at Dashvaikalika Sutra, whether you look at Acharang Sutra, you look at Bhagavati Sutra, there is this underlying thing that this human birth is very precious. Do not let it go. Make every effort to, we get so involved in living our lives that at times we forget, and it is very important at those times to constantly listen. So, one of the conversations I had with Sadhviji, was it yesterday? Yeah, it was yesterday, and we were just discussing, and we were discussing Uttarajyan Sutra, and I just said that, we've heard Uttarajyan Sutra many times before. Not the whole sutra, but various verses from it. But it's always refreshing to hear it again. It's always refreshing. And when elevated souls like Taima or Sadhviji, when they explain it to us, and with their innate clarity, with their innate compassion, it's almost like they've lived it partly, and they're explaining to us, and that gratitude which comes, that that we are blessed that these sutras have been translated by great acharyas. They have written these sutras down for us to understand, to assimilate in our lives. And I said, even if you hear it so many times, you still want to hear it again, because it's a constant reminder, because we live in this world, we live in a worldly life, we are not sadhus and sadhvis, and constantly we get involved in the worldly activities, and we need a constant reminder that, listen, that is only one part of life, that is not the entire life. So finally, at the end of my session, I'd like to just have Manglik recited, but if there are any questions before we recite the Manglik, please, if you can ask or say anything. I'm just trying to... so Bakul Bhai is asking, had Bhagwan detached himself from the pain, or was it equanimity? So Bhagwan had not detached himself from the pain, but because his soul and his body were different, any pain that he felt it at body level, but at soul level, which is where he was now during that time after achieving Keval Gnan, he was constantly on his soul. The bodily pain paled into insignificance for him, because the bliss within the soul was so much. And remember, the soul contains so much energy that energy also was encountering or stopping that pain from penetrating anywhere else in his senses or wherever. So although his mind was functioning, although he was thinking and he was feeling for Chand Kaushik, and he was feeling compassion, that it was only that whole thing was emanating from his soul, that whole compassion. And another thing I want to say is that, this whole thing about milk flowing from his toe. Now, of course, Mahavir Swami had red blood like all of us. I mean, he was, it's not as if all his blood turned to milk simply because he achieve Keval Gnan. But that is just symbolism. And milk, white, the color white is Shukla Dhyan, right? It's a representation of the ultimate knowledge that you, meditation that you get, which is Shukla Dhyan, at the point of, when you reached, when you achieved salvation. And what happened was that is just a depiction of the tremendous compassion from within. So basically, if you look at Mahavir Swami's, if you read his life, if you read his previous 27 lives, and you read his last life, and which is why it's very important to keep on studying Mahavir Swami's life, because in which last, in 27 lives, and his gradual transformation, and then the last life, and especially from the point of his birth, but even more so after achieving Keval Gnan, was that everything he did was just filled with compassion. There was never a moment where he has said, oh, no, this is not right, that is right, this is not what I should be doing. There was never Rag Dvesh. There was never this thing that, oh, I don't want to do this, I should do this. He was very clear in his mind, and everything was soul consciousness. Everything was coming from his soul. So even his body was acting because his soul was in power, not the body, if you see what I mean. Any other questions?
Shindipai, it's Raj.
Yeah.
Hi. It seems from Chand Kaushik's previous life stories that the emotion you have when you die seems to have a disproportionate effect on your next life. Is that true?
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes. So they say that, okay, during your life, you might have emotions, Raj, but you also have time to contemplate and time to seek, to make amends, to seek forgiveness. But when you are in your last moment, at that time, you might feel frustration, you might feel anger, you might feel, for example, if you have an illness and you feel that you want to live, but you cannot live. And there is that sense of frustration within yourself at the illness itself. That whole acceptance of your situation becomes more difficult. And when that happens, the whole thing travels with you, because it is an unfulfilled desire. It is an unfulfilled, how do I say, it has not been fulfilled, or it has not come to fruition for you. So you die in frustration, you die in anger, you die with whatever, and it travels with you. And that is why you will notice that some children, I'm not saying all children are innocent, but some children's temperament they're more temperamental, they're more annoyed. Even when they grow up, there are some people who are just, people say okay, their anger lives at the tip of its nose. And basically, in a little while, they get angry very quickly.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, if there are no more questions, then Ashaben, can we please say the Manglik?
Chattari Mangalam Arihanta Mangalam Siddha Mangalam Sahu Mangalam Kevali Panato Dhammo Mangalam Chattari Lokuttama Arihanta Lokuttama Siddha Lokuttama Sahu Lokuttama Kevali Panato Dhammo Logottamo Chattari Sharanam Pavachami Arihante Sharanam Pavachami Siddhe Sharanam Pavachami Sahu Sharanam Pavachami Kevali Panatam Dhammam Sharanam Pavachami Pavachami Ye char sharana चार मांगलिक चार उत्तम करे जे भवसागर मानव बुडे ते सकल कर्म नवाणी अंत मोक्ष तड़ा सुकल आनंद भाव धरीने जे गुण गाय ते जीव तरिणे मोक्षे जाय संसार माही शरणाचार अवर शरण नहीं कोई जे नर नारी आराधे तेने अक्षय विचल पद होय अंगूठे अमृत बसे लब्धि तड़ा भंडार गुरु गौतम ने समारिए मन वांछित फलदातार भावे भावना भावी पावे दीजे दान पावे जिनवर पूजी भावे केवल गान सर्वथा सौ सुखी थाओ समता सो समाचरो सर्वत्र दिव्यता व्यापो सर्वत्र शांति विस्तरो सर्वत्र शांति विस्तरो Om Shanti Om Shanti Om Shanti જગતના સર્વ જીવોનું કલ્યાણ થાઓ એ શુભ ભાવનાથી 12 કાળનું સ્મરણ સુતા પહેલા કરજો. જય જીનેન્દ્ર.
Jai
Thank
Jinendra.
you, Asha Ben. Thank you so much. That was wonderful.
You.
And thank you everyone for listening to me. And Matyan Vandami, in case if I have said anything, I mean, Michami Dukra, I'm sorry.
Not at all. Not at all. Thank you so much, Sandeep Bhai. It was a wonderful presentation, and obviously listening to Chandra Kaushik's story and reciting it in children's class and then listening to you today was a completely different experience, and thank you for teaching us so much more in depth tonight. And I was particularly touched by what you said about the minks and about how we, whether we communicate with the animals or not. And it sort of reminded me that very, very long time ago, we had some rabbits, and I do recall very clearly that at night when they were really frightened, it sort of made me want to run out into the garden and make sure that they were safe and everything was, as locked, and that there was nothing more that I could do. And it definitely made me realize that we are connected. All of us are connected, and I do hope, wish lots of peace to the animals all around the world. But I would like you all to unmute, please, and could you all give a big round of applause to Sandip Bhai?
Thank you all for your patience.
Thank you. Thank you. So before you all disappear, I have an announcement to make. Most of you know about it. We have a wonderful program coming in just over a week on Saturday, 14th of November. As you all know, we are approaching Diwali, and I would just like to read to you this amazing program that has been put together by Sri Channa Vidyapith with the Veerayatan family, but in collaboration with Young Jains. So please do make a note. So first thing in the morning when you wake up, you have the chance to do the Chopra Pujan. That's our first event in the morning at 9:30 in the morning till 11:30. Here we will be joined by Acharya Jannaji and Sadhvi Shri Shilapiji Maharaj from India with live music. And also we will have Vinod Bhai Kapasi and Sudhaben helping us through Chopra Pujan. So that's our first event as a reminder for you to spread the message and to register for the morning event. And here's my second Vivo to say for the second program. Second program will take place in the evening at 7:30 p.m., which will finish at 8:45. Here we will have lots of dancing, singing, storytelling, and it'll be recited in not only English, but also in Gujarati. We will be joined by Rajvi Punatar with her beautiful singing and the whole family. So I do hope you join in the evening as well. And lastly, a really special jap will take place, and I want to say it'll be dark, so we will definitely be lighting lots of diyas everywhere, and I certainly will be. At 11 o'clock on Saturday, 14th of November, we will have the jap, which will go on straight on to 1 a.m. into the new year. I hope you all join us. Please register with us. All the details can be found on Instagram, on our Facebook page, as well as our website, and also on Young James. Please join and let everybody know, let the whole family know, and the whole day will be full of celebrations. The more people who join, the merrier it will be. And if I hope also that during this special Diwali time, that we have time for self-reflection and some charity work, even though I know we're in lockdown at the moment. But I hope that we can send lots of positive vibrations all around the world and all to all the animals and everyone that's suffering at the moment. I hope you have a lovely weekend. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. And after Diwali, we will also have a Gnan Pacham program, which we will let you know about next week. Please do join us next Friday again. We look forward to seeing you. Jai Jinendra and Michhami Dukram.
शांति पमाड़े वो स्मरण हो पाळू
शांतिनाथ रटन रूपाणु
Hey, hi everyone.